Good evening. You know what that music means. It is 10:15. Punch in and welcome to episode 2 of NXT Night Shift. I am 1/3 of the Indie Wrestling Guide podcast and the new head coach of the Port Youth Activities 4th grade girls flag football team, Jay Gold. And with me, the Ed McMahon minus the Publishers Clearinghouse, the Paul Schaefer without the band, the Roots crew without Questlove, the Andy Richter in the year 2000, returning from a 9-month stretch at the International Space Station, the host of On the Mark podcast, Mr. OTM, it's Kyle.
Yeah.
Let's go. It has been a very busy week over here. Since episode 1, we are fielding all sorts of calls from agents to networks to Nigerian princes who want to send us all sorts of money. And Brad Pitt even asked me to pay for his kidney surgery. We are making moves, people. It is main event moves. WWE is in Europe, airing shows at the time most people my age are having dinner. Check out the Twitter machine as Raw, the early bird special, and the time zone confusion make for high comedy from the internet wrestling community. But don't worry, we are on time. We are here to save your evenings from doom scrolling and boring late night television. Let's fire up the old analog television. Tune into WPIX New York. Fire up the projector at the Simon Scott Assembly Hall. Sorry, Kyle, the Hoosiers, they deserve to be in.
Yeah, they do.
We are on the road to WrestleMania in a 2024 black CRV filled with my wife's return receipts, 37 reusable Target bags, and a trash bag filled with recycling. We are stopping at every Sheetz, Waffle House, and IHOP along the way. Welcome to the Wrestling Road Trip. Welcome to NXT Night Shift. Kyle,
Man,
what the fuck?
I follow that up. I don't know how one just follows that up. That was a fantastic monologue, by the way. It's great to be here tonight. I didn't get to catch full NXT, full disclosure here, but we're going to make it work. And as I say that, my headphones just went out, so I'm going to let you ramble a little bit more while I get some new headphones situated over here.
Yes, sir. So, as you guys can see right now, Paperclip Mike, good to see you, brother. As you guys can see right now, I am on the set of the Merv Griffin Show, live from Kramer's apartment. We did some, we're going to talk some NXT tonight. The episode was, to me, was a good episode. It was a little lackluster. I would have liked to have seen some more of the bigger names kind of giving themselves up on this episode. However, we do start off incredibly hot with the United States title match. That is between Chelsea Green and Sol Ruca. So, Kyle, I don't know how much of it you were able to really digest. I know you were rushing it, but why don't we dive into that? As far as my opinion is, Chelsea adding Alba Fire to her Secret Service is something that I enjoyed very much. I like that she has the entire feel of like the presidential feel to her. And I really, really like Sol Ruca, and I think that she is you can tell they have their eyes on her. So thoughts on this match?
Yeah, this is the perfect way to start off NXT, and I don't think it needed to be an extravagant show by any means, just because Roadblock, like we talked about last week, was such a big show. It felt like NXT PLE. So to follow that up here and start off with the United States Championship match is a great way. I mean, Chelsea Green is the Swiss Army knife of the WWE. It seems like you put her in any situation, she's going to succeed. And like you said, Sol Ruca, they've had their eyes on her for a long time now. You could definitely see the potential there. It's just her, staying healthy, finding her character a little bit more, developing more with Zarya. And I think it showed too in this match that she can hang with the big dogs, because Chelsea Green is no slouch in that ring, as we know. And of course, she had a little bit of a slip up. I did get to catch most of it, but I think the right person won. And it's just even more exposure for Sol Ruca, which I can't say enough good things about.
Yeah, and I like the ending here. I don't think anybody had to look bad. I think Sol Ruca is going to lose a lot more until she wins, and they're just going to build her a bit. And Zarya is, her presentation alone is TV ready, is main roster ready, and I think they know that, and that's why they have her with Sol Ruca. So definitely a match that I think was the right way to start off, so to speak.
Do you think Zarya is being misused, or is this a good start and a good exposure for her in NXT?
The reason why I think she's not being misused is because there's only so much space right now. As you can see, they took away, Julia, I think, is hurt. Now you have Stephanie Becker carrying 2 belts. You have Jordan Grace, which Shawn Michaels seems to be obsessed with. So to give Zarya a little bit of back burner, let them maybe dabble in the tag title world, and then you can unleash Zarya when she either breaks away or becomes like because she could do a heel turn if you just look at her if she wants to be just a
Oh,
badass.
100%.
Yeah, it depends. So I don't.
She kind of has like that Rhea Ripley presence to me.
Oh yeah, and she's from Australia, and yeah, I think she captures that very.
I forgot about that. I guess that makes sense. That's why their presence are the same.
Listen, she was a monster overseas, and she's going to be a monster here. It's just I think a matter of you got to wait your turn. And
who was she wrestling for over? Because she was known as Delta, correct?
Yeah, yeah. I don't know the names of the companies. I'm assuming that a few of them have got to be that big Australian company that all the indie guys go to. I think she was in Japan.
Indy Hartwell
as well.
was just there, I think, too. Yeah.
Yeah. So if anybody knows where she was wrestling, feel free to write us in on the chat, and also to go back to that. If you feel like giving us a ring, put in the chat you want to get on, and we will send you a link, and you will be backstage with us from there. To go after that match, we have a little bit of Javon Evans and Trick Williams talking. He insults Javon Evans. Lexis King comes in, and he gets slapped in the face. And my daughter always says she's always like, I hate his beard. And I'm like, that's the goal. The goal is for you to hate it.
It's obviously working, right?
Yeah. So I think, that's a good setup for later. I think Javon Evans is really being elevated, and you can tell that they really do like him, and they're starting to put the ball in his hands. So that's a good thing. We go from there to the Tony D family kind of talking it up. They have a 6-man tag later on in the show. I am starting to get lost on the Tony D family. I'm not really. Yeah, I'm not feeling it. I'm not feeling what they have as far as the chemistry. I'm not feeling it. I'm not sure what I'm looking at. Like, I'm not sure how it's lost the Sopranos angle, and it's more of just something that I don't really understand.
Here's the thing, man. If you compare them to like Chase U, I think Chase U should have been an act longer than the D'Angelo family. Because like you said, it kind of just feels like you still have 4 individual superstars here that haven't quite meshed yet. I mean, the tag match was fun. I thought the 6-man mixed tag was a lot of, solid action. We got to see Rizzo do a little bit of in-ring stuff, which we don't typically get to see on NXT, which is good, I guess. But yeah, I don't know what it is exactly. I can't pinpoint it. Maybe it's just too cheesy, which we got to experience a lot of cheesy gimmicks when it was NXT 2.0.
I miss it. I miss 2.0.
Yeah, do you? I don't think you do.
I have a sweatshirt. I do. I do.
Dude, the best part about a 2.0 was Tommaso Ciampa finally getting another NXT title reign. Yeah. And I actually liked the Dolph Ziggler of it all when he was involved with Braun Breaker. I thought that was good for Braun.
Yeah, it was very good to introduce Braun. And they introduced a lot of bigger names that are now on the Raw roster. So I have no issues with 2.0. I know a lot of people did. I think
it kind of set the table for where we're at right now. So I get in that aspect, thank you for your service.
But it is a gimmick that I think has washed away. I think it's over. Tony D, you had a lot.
He's
of
like
people,
the last one.
Yeah, he comes out and you're like, oh yeah, I get that Sopranos nostalgia. I want to see what they're doing. And now it's like, well, you didn't go anywhere with it. He's still the Don of NXT doing nothing. It didn't get him anywhere.
It hasn't evolved from the very beginning.
Yeah, so I'm not sure, and that's a problem with a lot of the gimmicks in NXT. They don't get to the next space where they need to get, and then they kind of die out. So
they have short shelf lives. I mean, Chase U, you can only do so much. They tried to do the fundraisers and whatnot.
Yeah, you can add to it, or you can move it onto the main roster. And if you're not going to move it onto the main roster, you better have a reason. You better have a reason why. So they didn't have a reason to get him on the main roster, and Harlem Bravado is a hell of a wrestler. He's been around a long time. So Chase U is going to be he'll be just fine, Andre Chase, but I don't know where he's going.
Do you see the D'Angelo family lasting until the main roster?
No.
I don't either.
That's the end of that. Tony D may come up. They may try it with a bunch of other guys. He may kind of poke his nose around and be like, hey, I got something brewing. But you already have a guy like Karrion Kross doing that. So, maybe we don't need it.
I'll tell you what, though, that Luca Crucifino can wrestle. I don't know if you noticed it in the match tonight. I haven't seen much of him, but I like what I saw from him. He had a lot of intensity.
Well, eventually those two are going to break off, or those three are going to break off from Tony. So if you're going to do that, that's fine. So break off, and then who knows, right? Maybe they become their own family, and then you have something else. I just think Tony D's either main roster bound or he's going to get lost, and that's going to be the end of that. So
he's going to get lost in the main roster too, and maybe that's just because we're not fans of Tony D'Angelo. And if you're a fan of Tony D'Angelo, comment, comment. Let us know. It's okay to be different. That's why we're here. We want to converse with the chat, so please let us know. But I just don't see Tony D'Angelo working. I think he's going to need a repackage if he's going to the main roster.
Yeah. So after that. What I want to go to is the Stephanie Vaquer interview. And then I think we have some calls coming in, but I want to do this first.
I was going to say, I think we do have a caller in the studio. So I don't know if we want to go to our caller here first.
Yeah. Hey, why don't we go? I don't know who we have. So let's go to the callers and see. We'll try.
You want me to bring him in for you?
Yeah, bring him in.
All right, let's bring him in. We got Stan from Burlington, I think.
Stan.
Hey. It's me, Stan.
Shit.
From Burlington.
Found me. Yeah. You found me.
I don't know if you remember me.
I do.
Wow. Jay Gold, another show for you.
Yeah.
Sure do talk a lot about wrestling. Podcasts, YouTube shows. Let me ask you, how's your marriage?
It's fine.
Actually, she's probably thrilled you're doing all this. Better than watching you sit in your den drowning your sorrows about the Jets and the Rock's Terramana tequila and smoking marijuana, right?
There's that. Sure.
Stan, I sell Terramana. Be careful, Stan.
Oh, hi, Kyle.
Oh, hi, Stan.
Stan. From Burlington. I don't know if you remember me.
I don't.
I'm the guy that's been emailing you saying you got the wrong guy from the Indie Wrestling Guide. I don't think you wanted Jay Gold. I think you meant Jay Hawk.
Yeah.
I think he meant me, Stan. Yeah.
Hey, Jay Gold, now, is your wife... I bet your wife's texting you on the side. Hey, maybe you would like your little show to go a little bit longer tonight. Why don't you pre-record a few episodes while you're at it? Hey, is Mr. Cincinnati there?
No, he's off tonight.
I like him. I also like Cincinnati. They have a picturesque little neighborhood called Over the Rhine. Funny, because without Mr. Cincinnati, I think I'm over this show.
Fuck you, Stan. Come on.
Hey, Jay Gold. I actually can't believe you have a live call-in number. I was trying to reach you for a while. You're a tough guy to get. Can you give me your Netflix login?
I thought we already had that conversation. You're not allowed to have my Netflix login.
Oh. Hey, guys, I saw that the baseball season started today.
Yeah.
Jay Gold, who do you root for, the Mets or the Yankees? You're out in New York, right?
Yes, I am, Stan. Met fan. Yes, sir.
Oh, Met fan. It's kind of like supporting AEW. Okay, gotta go. Bye.
Bye, Stan.
Stan!
He finds me wherever he goes. I don't know how he finds me, and he uses, I don't know tonight how he even got a computer, because the place where he stays doesn't let him use his computer or his phone. So sometimes
I was going to say, should we check Stan's history on his computer, because I don't know about that guy.
Trust me, you don't have to look for his history. The only thing you need to do is make sure he didn't escape. So a lot of the times they're looking for old Stan.
And see, look, you guys can be like Stan too, and you could call into the show. We'll make it happen.
Yeah. So whoever wants to get on and give a shit like Stan just did, go right ahead.
That Stan guy's a piece of work. I hope we never hear from him again.
I promise you,
we will.
Stan finds me wherever he goes. I don't know.
He wants Mr. Cincinnati, apparently.
Yeah. You know what? He's a big fan of on our show. He asks about Dom Guarini and Malcolm Cambridge, and then over here, apparently, he's asking about Mr. Cincinnati. Mr. Cincinnati, I just want to let you know, dude. If he starts painting pictures of you, it's a problem. So if you need to ask Dom or if you need to ask Malcolm Cambridge about the pictures he's painted, we'll just let me know. All right, we'll get the restraining order updated to include you over there.
The vibes. You know the vibes I'm getting from Stan. I'm getting Steve Buscemi and Billy Madison when he's just crossing off names off the list with his lipstick in his basement. That's the vibes I'm getting right there.
That's my friend. He's not going to bother anybody, but we may hear from him again.
Can he at least buy some of our merch or something? Because that would be great.
I don't think he's allowed to purchase anything. I'm pretty sure they took his credit card away.
That's okay. It would take months to get to him, anyways.
You're not kidding. Anyway,
you would know, right?
yeah. Me and Great Brown Hope, we know all about it.
It is what it is.
Let's move on now, Stan. Thank you to the Stephanie Vaquer interview in the middle of the ring. I have just a couple of notes. I wrote down she is everything. So she is like everything that I wanted from a champion. How they do it, how they treat people, like how they light her, like how they have other people interact with her is absolutely perfect. My only qualm is the Def Rebel theme song that she comes out to. She needs something epic. And all she's coming out to is like a random guitar riff.
To be fair, it could be worse. There are worse Def Rebel themes out there than Stephanie's, but I agree. She definitely needs something a little better than that. But I know the kids say this word all the time, and I'm going to reiterate it. Aura. That's Stephanie Vaquer right there. And you can see why they wanted to put both titles on her. And granted, we talked about it last week too. Julia did apparently have an injury, so it makes sense. Stephanie's the most for sure thing on that roster. But man, when she was cutting that promo, I just like the transparency of everything. Like she literally just went out there and said, "Hey, English is not my first language." Like, and that's great. And that's something that, and I hate to bring up his name, but when Vince McMahon was running things, they never blurred those lines. He was like, just go out there and make people laugh. If you don't know English, you're not going to talk. Triple H and Shawn Michaels are letting these women develop. This is why Stephanie wanted to come to NXT and not go to the main roster, so she can hone her craft and become the top woman in WWE.
She will be one day. I absolutely think 100%. She will be. She has the look. She has the gear. She has the aura. She does her. And you know what? If they let Julia said the same thing before Stephanie debuted, Julia may have gotten over more than she did, which I think is unfortunate. Now, if she's hurt, I think it's very unfortunate because I don't think they capitalized on the hype that was Julia coming in, unfortunately. And I think she may know it. I think, I'm just not 100% sure. But
I was going to say, here's the thing, though. Like, it hasn't been bad with Julia. Like, I'm not going to sit here and say, like, oh, they've dropped the ball with her. But I do agree with you. She should have just been presented as a bigger deal. And I don't know how else you could have done it because they kind of did give her the red carpet. Maybe they should have capitalized and had her beat Roxanne the first time and not have waited. Mm-hmm. But, hey, who am I to judge? Because I was just there in the crowd for Chicago and I selfishly wanted, Julia to win. But I still think that was the defining moment. CW debut, Chicago, All-State Arena, put the title on Julia then and just run with it.
They blew it. They absolutely blew it to push Cora Jade, who I know Tino loves Cora Jade.
Oh, I do too. She's a Chicago girl, Jay Gold, so be careful.
Guys.
Elena Black in the Indies.
Yes, but let's be honest. Was she supposed to cost Julia? If you wanted to have a feud with Julia and Cora Jade, start that as the first feud. I am very much under the impressions, and always have been, that if you have a brand new smoking hot prospect, pistol hot like Julia coming in, like Ricky Saints now, when Ethan Page came in, you have them get their win, and then you start them on their journey. She didn't even wrestle once before she got in the ring with Roxanne, and then it cost her the match, and everybody, the wind and the air got blown out of the sails right away. So she was already starting from behind. Yeah.
Yeah, no, that I really can't add anything to that. I totally agree. 100%.
Now, we have Jordan Grace come out in these obscenely tall boots, and she was going to start running. She was trying to run in and give the I just beat Roxanne Perez, I deserve a title shot, when out of nowhere, Jada Parker comes in.
Miss Parker!
Yeah, and she got her licks in, and now is the number one contender as of next week to the women's title. Now, I don't know how I feel about that. I am okay. So here's how I am okay with this. Look how, Jada Parker's not going to win. However, you do know that Stephanie needed that first win as a champion, and she's going to have 2 matches now, which we'll get to on next week. And so there's the win. That's how you should have booked Julia. There's the win. It's right there. Jada Parker looks like a credible opponent. She's going to push Stephanie to the limit. She's still going to win the belt, keep the belt. And then they're going to move on to Jordan Grace, which I think at WrestleMania, that's going to be the match.
She'll take it from her.
Yeah. Or she'll lose. But I think that's the match. Like, either way, it's going to be Jordan Grace, Stephanie at what are they calling? Stand and Deliver.
Stand and Delivery. I don't think there's another option either, especially if Julia is out for an extended period of time, which I don't know. Did they say anything about her injury on the show? They didn't even address it.
Nope.
Okay. So, yeah, Jordan Grace for Stephanie Valkyrie. What else is going to put butts in seats Stand and Deliver weekend? Let's be honest.
They love it, and Shawn Michaels loves it, and I think that's where you're going to get, you're going to get your pops from is that match. And but I do like Jada Parker coming in and kind of throwing her weight around and being like, you're coming with me basically, and I like that. And good on Jordan Grace for not being able to stand up in those ridiculously high boots. So
it's funny. She was trolling people, I think, online before NXT with those high boots because everybody wants to comment on her height, which it is deceiving because, like, you see how muscular and athletic Jordan Grace is. You think she's probably an opposing figure. She really isn't. Sorry to break kayfabe there, but if you see her in person, she's tiny, but she's still more jacked than me and could beat me and Jay Gold up at the same time. So I'm not going to say anything negative about that woman. But going to Jada Parker, that's another one of the success stories from NXT 2.0 / the NIL program that they got going on. Because Jada Parker, I listened to her interview. Shout out to O'Shea Jackson. They just had her on their podcast. I'm blanking on what their show's name are, but you can find it if you search their names. But she talked about how she didn't even watch professional wrestling growing up. Her brothers did. She got bullied. She got pushed around growing up with a lot of brothers, but she was just a soccer player. She was a highly recruited soccer player coming out of high school, and she just recently got into professional wrestling. But you can't sit here and say that this NIL program isn't working for the WWE because she isn't just the only example of people that are thriving from it.
Yeah.
It's crazy to think that Jada Parker just started watching wrestling 4 years ago. And she's already in the spot. Yeah,
her, Obafemi, what's her name? Carmen Petrovic, who's also on this show.
Sure.
They have a ton of these NIL athletes. Maybe there is something to it. Look, I mean, people shit
Something's
all
in the
over.
water.
Yeah, but people shit all over WWE for the PC and like how they come up and how they're ready. And I got to be honest, I think we're wrong. I think some of these guys who've never stepped in the ring before who are now wrestling. Are you going to tell me that Obafemi is not the right guy? Are you going to tell me that Jada Parker is not the right girl? It doesn't make sense. So, I like what's going on. I like hearing about certain talents. I like the mix of the indie guys and the NIL people. So,
Sol Ruca's another one of those names too.
Yes.
NIL. Like,
what was
there's
she,
another
volleyball?
one. Maybe volleyball. She went to Oregon. I know that because when I went to the Big Ten tournament last week. As you know, it was IU versus Oregon, and the only Oregon alumni that I could have named off the top of my head at the time was Sol Ruca.
Did everybody know? Were they like, hell yeah?
No, nobody around me knew that as I'm like, oh, she's in WWE, and I never want to go down that rabbit hole with non-wrestling fans. So you go, oh, that fake shit? Fuck you.
I do it at work, and I just bring it up to whoever will listen. So I'm most of the time I'm honing my verbal craft, talking to people who don't know about wrestling.
Exactly.
Yeah. Yes.
I hate the people that also like casually pay attention to what's going on with professional wrestling and attempt to talk with a diehard, and then you get the diehard talking about wrestling, and then they instantly regret talking about wrestling.
Yeah, it is something that makes me laugh too, because people are like, oh, you like my kid likes Roman Reigns, and I'm like, all right. Can you just step away from my cube?
I like Roman Reigns too, for the record. Also, Great Brown Hope, shout out to him. Angelo Dawkins, another original NIL. Bianca Belair, probably the biggest success. Came from Tennessee, ran track. It's working. It works. And maybe AEW should do something similar to that.
The problem is they just don't have anywhere to go. They don't have even someone like a Billy Starks, who they took off the Indies and
ROH.
Ring of Honor.
Behind a paywall.
But she doesn't even work. Yeah, but she doesn't even work half the time. Like, she's not working enough shows. There aren't enough. There's not enough.
Isn't she working tomorrow, though? Isn't she working against Mercedes?
Yep, but that's the first time in like 6 months.
A year.
Gave her a run. Yeah. So and when she didn't win the title, the title from Athena, what was the point after all that time?
That was a failure.
Big problem. So
another show. We'll talk about that on another show.
I don't want Dan to be right, so I'm not. We'll talk about that. But okay, so let's go to the next match: Hank and Tank versus Briggs and Inamura, and whatever. I get nothing from any of these guys. Nothing.
I was going to ask you, who does Hank and Tank remind you of?
Is it Heavy Machinery?
Yes, they're trying to recreate Heavy Machinery, and like they say in Mean Girls, stop trying to make fetch happen. It's not going to work. I'm not feeling it either.
There's no Otis to this one. Neither guy is Otis. They're both Tucky. That's a problem.
Not my Tucky, for the record. But that actually is how I ended up calling him Tucky. I always just called him Tuck, but he was a big fan of Heavy Machinery, and I can do an okay Otis impersonation, so Tucky is how I introduce him now.
He now coaches a high school. It's a varsity wrestling team, I believe, or a varsity football team.
Oh, no way!
Yeah, there was a news report about him. So it is good to see him kind of like branching away. I guess he was done, when they let him go. But
yeah, and some people just aren't meant to do that stuff for their entire lives, and a lot of people just want to be normal like the rest of us. Then again, we're not that normal. But the Great Brown Hope says Hank and Tank, the only ones lamer than Tony D'Angelo's.
I'm starting to agree with Great Brown Hope about Tony D, and we said it already. I'm starting to you're losing me, Tony, but whatever. You are losing me.
Call him by his real name.
What is it?
Oh. D'Angelo's.
Oh no, I don't want to do that.
Okay, fine.
I don't want to hurt his. I'm still there.
Watch our first interview that we get offered is Tony D'Angelo, and they're like, "Don't go to episode 2 of NXT Night Shift. You're not going to like what you heard."
Right, or you can go there and you just don't have to blame me. You can blame Kyle for that one. Okay, so Inamura and Briggs win. No idea what that means for them, since there's no tag titles that are. I don't believe that anyone's a real challenger to Fraxium just yet.
No one's on their level.
Yep,
no one in that. I thought OTM could eventually become that. The only OTM that matters. Yeah, I don't know. We don't take weeks off. Maybe they should put this OTM in replace of them.
Where did they go? I have no
question.
idea. They had something, and now they're kind of on the back burner. But getting on the back burner in NXT is no bueno. It really isn't.
Look at what that did for Gallows and Anderson.
Yeah,
they are no longer with the company, and that just didn't work.
The only person who succeeded coming back, I would say, would be either Bailey, who had a couple of good matches and good run.
Yeah.
Sending down a few folks doesn't hurt. It's just
no.
You don't want to
Becky's
get
run
stuck.
was good.
Mm-hmm. You don't want to get stuck. You definitely don't want to get stuck. So after that, they went to the locker room, and two people that I have literally zero, I think stink more than on ice is Ridge Holland and Eddy Thorpe, and they're talking together, and that was just the worst conversation ever, and I'm going to skip over that part.
I was going to say I got nothing to add to this because I believe this is about the time where the fast forward button was getting hit a lot.
Yep. And then we get to another women's match. It was more of a grudge match, Carmen Petrovich and JC Jane, and I've said to you before, JC Jane is the slowly becoming the women's gatekeeper on NXT and can do a whole lot of stuff. And I feel like, and she got the win, and I feel like she just knows her character, and she knows how to keep her faction going, and good for JC Jane, honestly. I'm a big fan.
No, I am too. And we talked a little bit about her last week, I believe, as well. I mean, she's just a staple of stables, I guess you could say. Like you were alluding to with Toxic Attraction and now Fatal Influence. I'm just not sure where they're going with Fatal Influence right now. I understand the whole Fallon Henley trying to get that rematch that she deserves, but after that, I feel like they're going to need something more important to dive into. Otherwise, what's the point of Fatal Influence? They're supposed to be the mean girls of NXT, similar to what Toxic Attraction were. And Toxic Attraction felt more like a main event group, whereas Fatal Influence, mid-card kind of faction.
I'm starting to lose hope that Gigi Dolan's ever going to get back on television. I'm starting to get upset. She's one of my favorites. One of my friends out in Ohio, Mike Trombetta, and I, we talk about Gigi a lot, and I am very upset that she is kind of, I don't know what the deal is with her. I don't know
there's potential with her and Shotzi.
Yeah.
That's something. The green hair, the orange hair, they're oddballs. They stick out, but in a good way. And I think it could work. So, but they don't have, this is another thing, Jay Gold, is I think they missed the boat on putting the women's tag team titles on Lash and Jakara, because there is more established tag teams currently in NXT in the women's division, in my opinion, than there are in the main roster. And then that's where they could have fit the mold going after those titles.
I think they're going to have to eventually admit the loss and keep the women's titles on Raw and SmackDown and make an NXT women's tag team title. I think they're going to have to, they're going to have to acknowledge it.
They just did that.
All right, but they have more women's tag teams than viable men's tag teams. So let's be honest. Like,
but how do you even reintroduce that? Like, oh, sorry, we got rid of these belts that Ronda and Shayna took and then unified, so we're bringing it back now.
Yeah, I think it'll be
tough.
something they'd have to come up with sometime in the summer into the fall and be like, okay, we need to have these belts because we have too much talent. I think you're going to get into, because you imagine having a women's tag match instead of these random one-off women's matches that don't mean anything. Like, there's things there. I hope Lash and Jakara get another run at something. I think Lash is really, I thought she stunk in the beginning, but I think she's really come a long way. You know what? Good on
another
Noam
NIL.
Dar. Yeah, good on Noam Dar, by the way. He was the veteran in that metaphor, and there's nothing wrong with the way that those women developed, honestly.
Well, it's crazy. I was going to say, if he does eventually return to NXT, I think he's third on the power rankings of Metaphor. Yes. I put Lash and Jakara more important just because they've been on TV, they've improved, and it's not just Lash Legend. I really think Jakara Jackson's got something in the tank, too. I think she could be a big player.
And I'll tell you how I know that they catch on. When my daughter watches wrestling with me and she asks about them and starts to be like, and she sees them and like, she had a lollipop and she was like, how come that girl on SmackDown never puts it in her mouth? Like, she holds it like this. And I'm like, how do you even, so obviously something is sticking. Like, how do you even remember, like, that she doesn't know her name, but she remembers that she doesn't, use the lollipop. She just holds it as a prop. And so, that's something they got something. And Lash Legend,
they could sell lollipops. Honestly, don't be surprised if Jakara Jackson gets to the main roster and they're selling Metaphor lollies or something like that.
I am all for merch. You want to make anything, sell it all. If I don't know if you were the same way, but I was obsessed with Colt Cabana's podcast.
Never listened.
Oh my God, dude, you have to. He is the grandfather, the godfather of wrestling podcasts. He always talked about merch. He talked about the importance of taking that last dollar, if you can, for that fan who's waiting for you after the show.
Of course.
Making shirts, making stickers, making foam fingers, I have a million Colt Cabana different things like from him.
Yeah.
And this is where, when you get a gimmick, take that gimmick and sell it. Like, sell all the lollipops, sell anything. Like Wendy Chu, you could have sold her pillows. Like, do everything. Or
an eye mask. Yeah. Like Cardona, I think, preaches it all the time. Sell the hell out of your merch and be active on social media. Even if you dislike it as a wrestler, that is how you are selling yourself, is on the socials. Whether you like it or not, it works. It puts butts in seats. Zack Ryder, Matt Cardona, whatever you want to call him, was the pioneer of that, sort of, by utilizing social media.
He was absolutely the pioneer of social media to get himself over. I would say Colt is the pioneer of getting podcasts to get himself over and get other wrestlers over. And Cardona is the pioneer of using the internet to get himself. I mean, who didn't run home to watch a Z True Hollywood Story or True Long Island Story every time it was on? Like, I
still know the broski and hosky words of his songs. Like, they're legendary.
So, like, all these guys in NXT and everything, you can tell which ones are catching on because you're like, holy shit, that's a gimmick right there. That can be sold. That can be marketed. But after that, to get back to the show, because we got to get to the women's, the big women's main events next week. After that, there was the Rock's daughter, Ava, right?
Ava, yep.
Mm-hmm. Talking to Stephanie, and then Fallon Henley comes in, and she wants a match, and Ava's like, nope, she's got a match next week with Jada, and Fallon Henley's like, it's too bad she has 2 titles, and now we're going to get 2 matches next week. So I think Stephanie's going to open and close the show next week.
I mean, that's appointment television, right? We get not 1, but 2 Stephanie Valkyrie matches? Sign me up.
You want to make her, not to take it away from Jordan Grace, but you want to make her the juggernaut on NXT. You have her win 2 matches in a night against 2 really credible opponents.
I was going to say, those aren't slouches either. Those are going to be good matches.
Yep, and so that's something to look forward to next week. We'll definitely cover those in full. And after that, we went to the semi-main event, Ricky Saints versus Ridge Holland. And my notes, and before we get into it, just says, this match blows. Ridge Holland stinks. So here's my problem. And even Vic Joseph said it. He said during the match, he's like, Ricky Starks can't even get going. It felt like Ridge Holland sucked the absolute life out of the match. And I just don't see, I know he's a big muscular dude. I'm just not seeing the value. As soon as he paralyzed Big E, as soon as he kind of did, I was just like, okay, maybe this guy isn't the guy, but he ended Chase U, and now he's wrestling Ricky Saints, and Ricky Saints has to throw his big ass around, and I'm not happy about that. The match just felt underwater to me, and especially as I just said about a match you want with a guy like Ricky Saints, right? Shouldn't he be meeting somebody who can go with him in the ring, make him look really good, make him look like a star, and then you want to get to that other stuff, get to the other stuff. That was not something I enjoyed as far as the match goes.
So this is the match I didn't see, but I love what you're saying. I totally agree. If this was Ricky Saints' first match, right, in NXT?
No, he wrestled Ethan.
Oh yeah, okay. So this is his second match in NXT.
But TV,
you're giving him Ridge Holland? And once again, no disrespect to Ridge Holland, but I've never personally understood him, been a fan of his. I didn't like him in the Brawling Brutes. And of course, I wasn't happy when he ended the career of Big E, but mistakes happen. That shit happens in professional wrestling.
Yeah.
I'm not going to send hate mail towards the guy. But still, there isn't anything that's attracting me towards him. Why do I want to hate Ridge Holland other than the fact that I don't think he's a good wrestler? Yes, he's big. Yes, he's intimidating, but I just don't see it either. And I can't really speak much on the match itself. Like I said, I only saw the first half, but yeah, we could have gotten a better opponent for Ricky Saints.
Yeah, it wasn't great. I'm going to just go with boo, and I'm going to move on from there.
We need a soundboard where we could Tuck has a soundboard that he pulls out sometimes where we just get
yes, my emoji is the thumbs down with the fart sound coming out of it. That is it for that match. We went into an interview with the guys who keep marauding through NXT. Now they are called the Dark State. I don't know the names. They didn't announce their names, but they did say they are called
Dark
the Dark
State.
Yep.
I guess it's not horrible, but that's not good. I didn't hear that, so this is breaking news to me. But
yes, could be the Garden State. Then they could be Jersey. It'd be even worse for them. But they are the Dark State. Yes, and it was, and it is. I still don't know who they are. They talked without their masks. One of them looked like independent wrestler Tyler Jordan, but it was not. So I don't know who these dudes were. I thought one was Jackson Drake, but it isn't. So
was one Cappuccino Jones?
See, I thought that dude was, but I don't think so. He's on Evolve. I am not sure if.
Well, I do know one of them is something Cutler because he's on the LFG show.
Okay, that's
the white guy with the big muscles. Yeah,
he looks. He's the one who I thought was Jackson Drake. The
Cutler James. That's what his name is for the record.
Oh,
yeah,
Lord.
Cutler James.
Cutler James.
Dude, they just pull these names out of a fucking AI GP, whatever they call it.
Name generator. I hate that's all the women's names. Every time they name a woman, Fallon, I'm like, Fallon Henley. It just sounds like you put consonants together, and you're like, take it. Here's the name.
I don't mind Fallon Henley, to be honest. But I get what you're saying.
Fallon Henley, Izzy Dame, Tatum Paxley. I mean, come on. What are we doing? I don't know. Anyway, they said during their interview that the Dark State, they are not done. They need to cause more havoc, and so they go to Vic, Joseph, and Booker. And they start the underground match where the guys are setting up the ring. Now, my problem with the underground... Yeah, go ahead.
I was just going to say one last thing about the Dark State. I can't help it, but it feels like Retribution.
Yeah.
And that's not good. That's not good.
But here's where they're different than Retribution. And I think Retribution was also a casualty of during COVID and what it just kind of you couldn't get that break through the crowd, here we are type stuff. And I think that was a casualty of what we were doing then. What I do see is they're able to get through the crowd and beat people up and stuff. I'm going to give them a small chance to come through.
I will too.
Yeah, and the way this match ended tonight actually gave me a little hope because we started the underground. Here's my problem. It's supposed to be like Bloodsport, right? It's supposed to be and they come out in wrestling gear. Yeah. And I hate it in Bloodsport when I go to the Josh Barnett Bloodsports and some guys wear wrestling gear and others wear, MMA stuff. you're coming out in wrestling gear. It's not a wrestling match. I want to see gym shorts. I want to see how you train. Like if you're
look at the street fight last week. They dressed up for that.
Well, that's why. I mean, Ethan Page is always one step ahead, but I have a problem with them wearing wrestling gear because it doesn't look it makes it feel fake. And if you want to make it feel like it's blood sport, like it's something where it's a shoot, you can't wear wrestling gear. But you know what? They took a lot of crazy bumps, and they fell out of the ring a few times. Trick went through a table. They pushed Eddy Thorpe out of the ring. But the ending was where I was okay with. He gets on top of him, and he just rains fists until the ref stops it.
Hell yeah.
Yeah, and you know what? I was okay with the way it looked. Because sometimes hammer fists look terrible when you're doing it fake. And to be honest, it did not look bad at all.
So obviously I'm going to go back and rewatch this because now I'm very intrigued because this is something I think we've even talked about that Trick just needed that extra something. We've seen Trick at the top of the mountain here in NXT. It's just now what? And now he's got a little bit of an edge, which I like because let's be honest, I think all of us would want to punch Eddy Thorpe like that. He's got a very punchable face, and he's also the same guy that faked his own injury to get a title match. So, yeah, Trick should be pissed off. So I'm glad to hear that he did that.
And what made it even better was at the end, Trick gets up, he takes the mic, he calls out Obafemi. Obafemi comes down, and remember, it's still dark. Everybody's around the ring. Obafemi comes in. Now, they start jawing at each other, and Dark State ends up on 4 different spots in the crowd. Perfect.
Right.
All right. Now, I didn't want a Shield rehash. I didn't want a Retribution rehash. They start walking to the ring, and Obafemi and Trick start fighting, and Javon Evans comes in, and now all 3 are fighting. Okay. And what's happening now is instead of Dark State coming in and doing the same bullshit every week, they stand there with their arms crossed, literally just watching. They're like laughing and chuckling as the whole roster tries to hold these 3 guys apart. And they're just beating the crap out of each other. And then at one point, the spot you'll see, and I'm looking forward to your opinion.
Yeah.
Evans jumps on the back of a guy who's down and cutters Obafemi. And Obafemi is knocked out, and the 2 of them, Trick and Javon, end up looking at each other in the ring to end it. And Dark State's in there, and one of the guys is clapping for him like, wow, that was pretty badass. And the other 3 guys are watching. They're just like this. Yeah, we did it. The chaos is what we wanted. Everyone else is unconscious. They knocked everybody out. So the place is just chaos.
That's Karrion Kross vibes, kind of, trying to cause chaos amongst the roster.
Yeah, and it wasn't. So they beat up Tony D'Angelo, earlier. They put Tony D through a table, and that's why the family lost the match against the Culling or whatever they're called.
The Culling. Put some respect on my favorite faction's name.
Fuck, I don't even remember.
It's not my favorite, but
I don't even know the 3 other people besides Sean Spears.
Brooks Jensen.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know the big guy's name. Izzy Dame.
See, another name, Izzy Dame. Okay, so they lost because they beat up Tony D, and then they got distracted watching the video. So those guys caused their havoc. They made their point. It didn't get like, oh, we're coming back in to do the exact same thing. And that is where you got, like, that's where I'm okay. But to end it, Evans looks like the star out of everybody. He ended it with that giant cutter on Obafemi, and he was face-to-face with Trick Williams, and I didn't realize how tall Evans is also. Yeah. And they were right up against each other. So good on them. I was disappointed there was no Ethan Page tonight. But
that is disappointing.
Yeah, but I think in general, the episode was a little lackluster. The ending of the main event was good. I wasn't a huge fan of the semi. So, I mean, we're not going to be one of those shows that has to rate it every week, but I would say I was a little bit underwhelmed after coming off of last week, which was, the best way to start our show. I was a little underwhelmed with it.
Yeah, no, that's fair. And, like everybody knows, I only watched the first hour, but, it seemed like a solid show, and I'm looking forward to watching the second hour. But you bring up the ending of NXT, and once again, I got to watch it, but Javon, Oba, and Trick. Is that the match at Stand and Deliver you think they're going for? A triple threat? Because if that is, I kind of like it, and I think it could be really good.
It very well could be, to be honest.
It's a good way to get the title off Oba, too, doing it in a triple threat.
Yeah, it is but I don't even think there's a need to take it off of him. I think.
No, I agree.
I think one of them eats the pin. If Trick Williams eats the pin, it's time for him to go off.
Main roster. Yep.
And if Evans eats the pin, that they just needed to. They're still working him into something.
He can't have another big loss, though. Javon Evans has had a lot of big losses. Granted, there's still plenty of time, but that marquee of a match, I don't want to see him eating the pinfall. I'd rather have it be Trick.
I agree with you. I just don't know. I don't know, but I would say that is an outstanding main event for Stand and Deliver.
Sure.
If we do those three. I think what they should do is set up an Ethan Page, Ricky Saints match. Also, unless they didn't wrestle already, did they?
No, they didn't. That's why, when you said it earlier, I was like,
that was Ethan Page and Javon Evans, so that was good. And then I think you're going to see Ethan Page and Ricky Starks. So you have Stephanie and Jordan. You have the triple threat. You have Ethan Page and Ricky Starks.
You probably have Fraxium versus the Hardys in some way, I would assume.
Oh, again? Okay. I mean...
I think so. I mean, I could be wrong, because do you see another tag team stepping up? Unless it's Inamura and Briggs, that's not moving the needle for me. I don't need to see that again, even though it was a really good match on the last pay-per-view.
Stop it. I'm going to...
It was.
I'm escorting those two off the Merv Griffin set because they are... I do not want to see that match. I don't know what you're going to do with Fraxium. I did unfortunately think there's going to be some sort of ladder match.
Fraxium is fine, J. Gold. Fraxium is fine.
They're fine. I know they're fine, but I think that's what I think that's what we're going to see. I think it's going to be something like that. But I think you have the makings of a really good. I mean, what kills me is it's in the afternoon before WrestleMania.
Yeah,
and I'm going to be in Florida, and then I come home that Friday night, and then Saturday I got to get up and do that, and I have to do WrestleMania Night 1, and also catch up on the Hall of Fame. So there's a lot in that one day.
I was going to say, so I guess I'm going to count you out for the mixers because I was planning on getting some mixers together WrestleMania weekend.
I will be around that Saturday and that Sunday. I can do both of those days, but not Friday. Friday I'm flying home, so I'll be home after noon on that day.
Yeah, there you go. A little peek behind the curtain for all the main event wrestling fans out there.
Breaking the fourth wall.
2 mixers, not 1, 2 mixers WrestleMania weekend. We'll probably do a special show for Stand and Deliver, I think. We're going to have to predict it.
Yeah, I think we might have to do that as well.
Get a guest, maybe? Special guest? Who knows?
Maybe Stan. You never know. Stan loves talking wrestling.
Stan, I'm glad Stan called in because that was hilarious. Hopefully we hear more from Stan.
Yep. So anyway, now that we are done with that tonight, you want to we'll do some plugs and we'll get out of here. I guess I'll plug first just because we have the list. Just check me out on the Twitter machine at jgold12. And then also the Indie Wrestling Guide, IW Guide 1. We have an interview. It's one of our longer ones, but he's great, of an independent wrestling legend, Wilbur Whitlock. And then that drops on Thursday. And then we are going to be talking to him again next Monday for a part 2 because he just has unbelievable stories of people he's wrestled. And his first big match was his 5th match wrestling was with Honky Tonk Man. Yeah. Nice. So the stories he told about Honky Tonk Man were amazing, and I can't wait to get into more with him. One of the first cards he was ever on was Dusty Rhodes versus Terry Funk in a Civic Center at an indie show that he was working. So,
that's awesome.
Yeah,
I hope it was the Hammond Civic Center. It's a local place here that used to run at. It was very popular back in the day.
He's an Ohio guy, so his stuff was. Mr. Cincinnati would know the locations. Yeah. So, keep that in mind. Check it out on Thursday. And as always, check us out here on Tuesdays. We'll have more of the carnival, as I like to call it, for you then.
Yeah, don't worry, guys. I shouldn't guarantee that, but I should be watching NXT in its entirety next week. I had a little college basketball poll going on tonight. But, guys, don't forget to support our friends over at the Main Event Wrestling Network. You can get some merch at the OnTheMarkWrestlingPodcast.com. Make sure you're following us at MainEvent_net. You will hear the Indie Wrestling Guide on the network. You will hear the Wrestling Junkies podcast. And, of course, you will hear about OTM and many other great content creators. We got blogs. We got YouTube content. We got TikToks coming. A lot of good shit happening at the Main Event Wrestling Network. And every episode of NXT Night Shift can be found at MainEvent_net. And if you want to keep up with the show, we live tweet during NXT, and we will update you on when we are going live It's usually going to be 10:15, full disclosure. But you can give us a follow at NXT Night Shift. That's where we're at on X. So, Jay Gold, why don't you send us home?
All right, y'all. So for Mr. OTM Kyle and for Jay Gold, who is not up for ransom, we say good night. We'll see you. Well, this is the end of our shift. We'll see you next week.